I, 28 female, have been with Michael, 41 male, for the last 8 years. We got engaged 5 years ago and decided to get married once my master's degree was done. Michael has a daughter, F, 12, who lives across the country. I found out I was pregnant 5 months ago. When I told Michael, he looked shocked. I suggested we postpone the wedding, but he said no. In fact, let's have the wedding earlier. We can have a small courthouse wedding, and once the baby is born, we will have a nice party. I reluctantly agreed. We set a date, I got a nice dress, and my friend did my hair and makeup. I showed up and saw that Michael didn't bother wearing a clean shirt. He wore his old jeans, didn't shave or shower, and wore his old t-shirt. I asked him if he really wanted to marry me. He said yes. Let's go, hurry up. After the ceremony, we went for lunch, and he told me his daughter is moving in with us, so it's best to cancel our honeymoon/baby moon that was supposed to be in September. I was shocked and asked why. He said he can't just abandon his kid for a week. Ella is moving across the country, everything is new to her, we need to bond with her. Get over yourself. You are going to be a mom, how about a little empathy? I just stayed quiet. He went back to work, and I went back to my place to pack my stuff alone because I was officially moving in with him. Now that Ella has moved in, I feel completely unseen. He spends all his free time doing stuff with her, and I'm not invited. He says his kid has been through a lot and he needs to bond with her. I pretty much spend all my time alone, either at school or at my part-time job. I go to all my baby appointments alone. Today, he told me he is taking her to Disneyland because September is her birthday. I feel so petty, but September was supposed to be our honeymoon. I asked, and I guess I'm not invited to the trip, right? He said you were always invited, but this time I want it to be me and her only. It's the first time I get to be with her on her birthday. I just left for school and cried. Why is he punishing me for getting pregnant? Things were great before, and all of a sudden, I don't even exist anymore. Ada for resenting my husband? Am I too needy and unreasonable? Oop, no, I had no clue. He just informed me during the lunch, babe. That is not how a loving husband would approach such a topic. And his comments on top of that? Jesus seems like he thinks that now that you're married and pregnant, there is no way you'll leave and he can treat you however. That is not right. You deserve better. There are a million red flags in this post. Make sure your support system is tight. Talk to people about possibly staying with them. Put money to the side. And then, only when you have a plan, sit him down and tell him that if things don't change, you're gone. Oop, yes. Apparently he had been discussing with Ella's mom for weeks about this. Nope. I wasn't even aware my wife took it upon herself to write her side yesterday. She left to stay with her coworker to clear her mind before making any decisions. Since then, many of my friends have read her post, contacted me, and called me a monster. Here is my side, and I'm genuinely wondering if I'm the bad guy here. I have been with my wife for the last 8 years. She got pregnant while we were engaged. I suggested having a small courthouse wedding and then a nice party when the baby was born. I have a daughter from a previous relationship. When her mother was pregnant, she left to stay with her parents across the country. I only met her maybe once a year. I was never involved in her life. Before our courthouse wedding, her mother messaged me that my daughter was moving in with me because she was pregnant and thought Ella, my daughter, should be with me. When I told my wife after our wedding, she didn't say anything.
Gee, I told her that I was postponing our honeymoon since I couldn't leave my girl, who had just moved in and was feeling abandoned, just to go on some trip.
My wife didn't say anything. Since Ella moved in, I have tried my best to make her feel welcome. I take her to extracurricular activities, she sees a therapist that I take her to, and I take her fishing with me. My wife has not only been very distant but also decided not to communicate with either of us. She hasn't put any effort into connecting with my daughter. They speak maybe a few words a day. My wife is always quiet, which makes things awkward. On top of that, she is jealous of my daughter and expects me to baby her because she is pregnant. She suggests crashing, I say no each time, in on any father-daughter activity without realizing my kid has been through so much. She expects me to come to all her baby appointments. I explain that I'm working full-time and do all these extracurricular activities with Ella. Plus, she can just show me the ultrasound pictures later. It's not like there is anything I can do. My presence is not necessary for these appointments. Now, here is the thing, am I an asshole for trying to be there for my child? For putting my child first? For expecting my wife to be an adult and not expect me to baby her? She is using her pregnancy to be emotional and guilt trip me because she is jealous of a literal child. Uda. Your wife is expecting your child. You have made no effort to make her feel special or wanted. You are putting your daughter's needs, understandable, over your wife's, who is also carrying your child, needs. Taking her to one of your father-daughter outings isn't going to kill you, rather it will help your daughter and wife bond. Frankly, your attitude about your wife wanting you at her medical appointments and everything in between is just concerning. You are making no effort to make your wife comfortable and more importantly at peace. Grow up and act like a husband for on. Say too. Oop, I married her. Right away. Most men walk away. Oop, you are treating me like I'm a monster and capture the princess lol, we love each other. Just because I have boundaries and expectations doesn't mean I'm a monster. Oop, I do love her and the baby she is carrying. Our problem is she likes to be treated like a child and competes with my daughter. I expect her to act like an adult. I saw people told her in her post to murder my baby. No, she is not getting an abortion. Update 1. I haven't slept all night. It's 7 a.m. in Toronto now, and I'm a mess. I thought I'd give you an update. Some of you called me a troll because you couldn't believe what an insensitive jackass I was. Well, you weren't wrong. Here's the update. My wife texted me yesterday, saying she found a new place and is planning to talk to a lawyer soon. She asked when she could come by to pack her stuff. I was floored. I thought she was kidding or trying to scare me. But she wasn't, she was very serious. She came over with her coworker, Jen. I asked her if she could please stay and talk, then I'd give her a ride back to her coworker's place later. Her coworker gave me the dirtiest look and left. We talked for hours. I'm a monster and a crappy husband. She generally has anxiety, and pregnancy made it worse, and she's been dealing with it alone. Apparently, there was a scare during an ultrasound, and she had a full-blown panic attack. She said she was so lonely that the ultrasound tech and nurses had to help her out. Luckily, further testing showed that the baby is fine. I felt sick to my stomach picturing her alone and having a panic attack. I asked her why she didn't tell me. She said she had asked me many times to come, but each time I either called it stupid or made fun of her for being a big baby. She said while she was waiting for the further testing results, she was so anxious that she was throwing up all the time. I lived with her, yet I was so full of myself I didn't even notice. I begged her to come back. She said she can't at this time because of her mental health. I asked if I could come to the appointments from now on. She said, of course. We're going to see a marriage counselor as soon as possible. She said she'll only move back when the counselor says she's ready because, at this point, she's not. I asked if I could still take her out on date nights. She looked at me and asked if I was just doing this to expect sex afterward and trick her into coming back. I swore that I would drop her off at her place every time, no sleepovers and no expectations. Just dinners, talking, and doing activities like when we were dating. She smiled. She asked about my daughter, and I told her she misses you. She said, no, she doesn't even know me. I admitted she was right. I told her I messed up and that hopefully, when she's ready, she can join us on some outings. She said, yeah, maybe. I drove her back to her coworker. So folks, as Doug Ford says, to summarize, I stayed awake all night. I'm disgusted by my actions. So that's the update as of now. My wife has left me for now, and I'm skating on very thin ice. Hopefully, I'll have more positive updates soon. P.S. I admitted I was a selfish puss. I have been getting DMs suggesting to kill myself, or hope my wife miscarries so she would be free. I'm going to stop replying. You still are TA. You weren't the only one disgusted by what you wrote. The post and the responses that followed only had one thing in common: me and I. My house, my expenses, my daughter, my rules, my this, my that. Never once did you talk about your wife in an equal partner sense of a way. Even though your wife knew about your daughter, you sprung her on her. Never once did you find it right to discuss with her first. Her life was going to be impacted by it too. She made every attempt to be close to your daughter, which was stonewalled by you. You dismissed your pregnant wife's concerns as being jealous and a baby, competing with your daughter. The fact that you were so ignorant to your wife's pleas that you totally sent her into a downward spiral. Despite all of this, your wife is still willing to give you a chance. That right there tells you what an amazing person she is. I hope for your sake, you have changed, because if you haven't, then God help you. Update 2. I met my wife for dinner, and she looked beautiful as always. She asked about my day, and I showed her my phone as the Reddit notifications kept coming in. She told me to just delete everything, saying these were some horrific, judgmental messages. She said she had read all my comments and was happy she deleted her account because it was affecting her mental health. She then told me about a weird sex dream she had, and I couldn't stop laughing. She asked me if I thought our baby would be a boy or a girl. I told her I didn't know much about pregnancy. She laughed and said, "True, I'm going to give you some of my books to read." I said, "Thank you, and I will." She went over the list of expectations I made, explained some things, and then changed some stuff. I told her I really appreciated her feedback and that I knew it wasn't her job to help me. She looked at me and said, "Are you kidding me?" When I asked for her opinion, I told her I really liked it. It felt like the old you. I wasn't invisible anymore. She said that once we got married, she felt suffocated. She never felt like this was our home because I treated her like a house guest. She said it was never our home, it was mine, and she was just living there. She wasn't involved in any of the house decisions and never really unpacked because I liked the house the way it was. I told her she was right and that I was wrong for saying it was my house and making decisions for everyone. I apologized for making her feel suffocated. She said she has known me for 8 years and knows I can change back to the person I used to be, the person she fell in love with. I was embarrassed and quiet. She suggested I talk to a therapist about handling change in my life, acknowledging that the first pregnancy, my new position, and Ella had all been significant changes, but that I couldn't just focus on a few priorities and ignore the rest. She told me I completely ignored her and asked if I agreed. I said yes, 100%. I should have discussed Ella's move from the moment her mom texted, and I shouldn't have excluded her. She asked if I was still taking Ella to Disneyland. I said that aside from the obvious reason that I was a dumbass for excluding her, no. She then said she wanted to go back for 2 weeks to see her grandparents and friends back home, so I should pay for that, she asked me. She then looked at me and asked, so what are we going to do for 2 weeks? I really didn't have an answer. She said, want to take me on the honeymoon you never took me on? I said, if that's what you want, of course. She mentioned it would be the last week of September and the first week of October. Then she asked if I wanted her to come to take Ella shopping on Saturday. I told her this would be a giant favor for me because I don't know much about shopping for a preteen girl. I said, yes, thank you. After dinner, we were talking about movies, and she went on and on about movie theater popcorn. Then she felt embarrassed and said, sorry, I just really crave it. I laughed and said there was a theater close to her place, and we could stop by to buy some. Let's go. It was so cute because she devoured half the bag by the time we arrived at her place. She kissed me on the cheek and said she had a good night. I said I did too. Thank you. She asked if I could help her move to her new place, and I said yes, of course. She mentioned her job isn't paying enough, so she's thinking of getting a second job. I told her, please let me help you. You're pregnant, and it's very unfair to work 2 jobs. You only moved out because of the shit I put you through. You even said this was for your mental health. I don't want you to come back because you couldn't afford to live on your own. If you need your own space, then it's my job to help you. She said, thank you. She also mentioned she booked marriage counseling for Tuesday and started seeing a therapist, virtual sessions, who she really likes and who makes her happy. I told her thanks for the appointment, and I'll pick her up. I'm glad she found a good therapist. I asked for a referral from my GP and hope I'll find a good one too. Anyway, eventually, we were done sitting in the car talking. She kissed me on the cheek again, and then left. Now on to second story. Rushed to pack my daughter's bag as she was admitted for inpatient care, while trying to manage my pregnancy stress. Our daughter is experiencing what seems to be an episode of psychosis. We've reached out to her school counselor and to a mental health helpline that have provided details for a local early psychosis intervention clinic that I will be contacting as soon as they weren't open over the weekend. We've managed to calm her down and get her, finally, sleeping. She woke us early Sunday morning to say God had spoken to her through her Galaxy light projector and telepathically, essentially through yes/no questions and being answered by the green/red, yes/no, sequence on the light. She is adamant that she is one of 6 prophets/messengers in the entire world and that she doesn't care what we say because we're just being logical and not open-minded and she knows what's right. It was absolutely terrifying to witness how adamant she was, and likely still is, about this. We let her speak for a good 2 hours, and tried, gently, telling her a lot of what she said can't be true, certain people being dead, who aren't, that we were awake when we weren't, etc., and she then tried to justify it by saying she had misspoken. Admittedly, this poor girl is going through a lot of big life changes right now. We moved cities this year. Husband and I are expecting a child in a few weeks, first together after loss/fertility treatments, went no contact with my mom, who is an absolute narcissist/pathological liar. Daughter has also recently reached out to her bio dad, who left when she was 4, and is planning a trip in the big school holidays to spend time with him/his family. Massive backstory here, but I always said we'd support her when she was ready. To note, my husband has taken her under his wing and has been dad to her all these years. Recent rebellious stints where we've caught her out lying/doing things behind our backs, usual teen stuff. This is just next level though. We're so incredibly worried and don't know what to expect with reaching out for help. She seems to be sleep deprived, so we're keeping her home today to get things sorted and ensure she rests. She said she will go crazy if we keep her home and that she's fine. It's just heartbreaking to witness. Also, any help/advice for me and my husband. My husband has been trying to handle most on his own/hold the household together because I'm so far along in my pregnancy. I've got a week left before taking mat leave and I'm only doing half days from home, so I will be here to support her. Edit, to add, she hadn't slept the entire night of the encounter and had trouble sleeping some nights before. We also found out that she hasn't been eating breakfast/lunch during school days, when she said she has, unsure if these are contributing factors. Also, in case anyone asks, we aren't hugely religious. We don't go to church, but we do watch a sermon online on Sundays, skipped yesterday, that we've told her she doesn't need to watch if she doesn't want to. She has a Bible. Do we confiscate this? We pray at mealtime. Euro/Samoan household for cultural context. We are not entertaining her delusions in any way, we just want to support her and get her some help before this escalates further. A genuine massive thank you to everyone who has commented with suggestions and advice. It has been a massive help during this extremely confusing time. Sorry if I don't respond to all messages. I am sure today is going to be hectic, but we're reaching out for help right away and feel we're on the right track. It's been a long morning. We've had her assessed first thing and she is being transferred to Auckland for inpatient support today. We'll be heading down too. Separately, they've organized us petrol vouchers and accommodation. Really impressed with the quick support/service we've received. Not coping so great, but we'll take it day by day. 3 Fuck, this has been rough. Last night was bad. I had a breakdown myself, but I'm feeling better today and have only cried once. A nurse approached me today at our visit and asked me if I was pregnant, and to be careful, as there are some high-risk/aggressive patients. Luckily later in the day our girl has been moved out of the high dependency unit/lockup and into the open unit, which is amazing. The doctor says she has hypomania, and mentioned bipolar potentially. They've put her on low-dose mood stabilizers, and potentially antipsychotics, and may increase if she doesn't improve by the weekend. He didn't seem that concerned about the psychosis, despite her still really believing God is talking to her. This has actually escalated. It's looking like a 2-week stay at the least. She didn't want us around as we didn't bring her tablet, and she wants to talk to her friends. We/nurses agreed this isn't the right time as she isn't in the right frame of mind. We might reduce our visits, but she knows we're close by. Also presented to the maternity ward at Auckland Hospital and they did a check, monitoring plus formal scan. Baby is doing awesome, so that's some good news at least. Oop, we ended up going this route. We were seen almost immediately and have a plan in place. I rushed home to pack her bag. She is being admitted for inpatient care. Tried to pack some nice EMS, mist music and a water bottle, but that's such a good suggestion. Now in the BK driveway picking her up some comfort food to bring her before they take her away. Update 1. Seeing her in the high dependency unit on the first morning absolutely broke my heart, but she made really good progress through the week and is almost back to her old self. The doctors have confirmed she still has the delusions, but she is keeping quiet about them. We are all back home today and have a care plan in place. Hopefully she will be able to get back to school by Thursday. Really thankful for having been accommodated at the Ronald McDonald House too, and the petrol vouchers were a massive help. They're still not 100% on a diagnosis, but our daughter has been prescribed lorazepam, anti-anxiety, and olanzapine, antipsychosis, meds that she will stay on for the next few months and potentially look at tapering off once everything settles, particularly with the baby coming very soon, which is a big event that could be triggering. They're leaning towards bipolar, but we're all hopeful this was a once-off episode that was caught early, and doesn't eventuate into anything, but only time will tell. It will be a long journey ahead for us. Always happy to chat if anyone has questions, now or in the future. Thanks again 3oop, hello. Thank you so much for this, really appreciate your insight and it makes me feel so hopefully for her. 3oop, noted, thank you. I'm not sure how long lasting these meds are, but we noticed a big mood shift as we got closer to the time she was due her meds, so even the idea of tapering off has freaked me currently. Oop, hello. I'm sorry you've been through similar, it's so tough for all. Our daughter still isn't happy with us, and feels betrayed, but we hope she'll know one day, it was all out of love and wanting the best for her.